On the next two episodes of the SOWLE RV podcast, we're focusing on the essential steps of planning for an RV camping trip. It is part of our new complete RV travel guide, How to Secure Your Best Camping Trip Now monthly theme. You can do so with the 5 essential steps we're going to discuss. All of that and much more coming up on part 2 of the 3-part series of trip planning on SOWLE RV podcast. Hello everybody, I am Mark.
And I am Angie with SOWLE RV. Last week we started a new topic, and like Mark said, the next few weeks we are going to focus on our new complete RV travel guide, How to Secure Your Best Camping Trip Now. This is part 2 of a 3-part series. Last week we discussed the importance of checking the tire pressure on your RV before you do a trial run. This week is about the trial run, and we are going to share a lot of important information. So make sure that you subscribe to the SOWLE RV podcast, SOWLE RV YouTube videos, and the SOWLE RV blog to get all the updates. Better yet, subscribe to them all and you will never miss a thing. To begin with, we are going to share a little more with you about what we have planned to cover in this 3-part series. It is no secret that I have OCD. I must have a plan. I am really trying to teach myself the rule to live in the moment, but it's going to be a long journey to learn that rule. The plans I make can fall apart in so many ways, and they usually do. However, for me, it gives me peace that I have some idea of what we are going to do on our trip. So that is why it is so important for us to follow these 5 essential steps of planning for an RV camping trip. We will cover steps 1, 2, and 3 today, and steps 4 and 5 next week. Today, in step 1, we are covering, like I said earlier, the trial run, including exploring the world around you and 5 things to consider when planning your personal RV camping goals. Step 2 will cover things to consider when deciding on location and amenities needed within the campground and your campsite. And finally, step 3, we will cover how to make reservations, how they are being affected by the pandemic, and the importance of canceling a reservation. So let's get started with the first step, the trial run.
Trial run is so important. A trial run is exactly what it sounds like, a trial of a camping trip in a shortened period of time. It is a way to quickly learn what you can about your RV that you may not have already figured out by doing a run through with your dealer. Of course, if you bought your RV used from an individual, you may not have gotten all the run through. So this is a great way to learn what you can about your new to you RV, whether used or brand new. Believe me when I say that even those brand new RVs can have problems. Everyone who purchases an RV should do a trial run with that specific RV. It doesn't matter whether it is brand new or 20 years old, it is still important to do a trial run regardless. The best time to do a trial run is before you take your first planned camping trip. There is nothing worse than having your very first camping trip ruined because of a ton of things go wrong with the RV because you didn't have any preparation for it.
Right.
Again, it is essential to do the trial run to ensure things are working properly with your RV to avoid potentially ruining your very well-planned RV camping trip. A trial run can simply be done in one overnight stay at a campground, or it can even be as simple as doing it right in your very own driveway. However, if you're planning a driveway run, as we call it, you need to keep in mind you will most likely not be able to do a complete and entire mock camping trip because there are just some things you must be in a campsite for. If you are in a rush and get ready for your first big trip like we are most of the time and run out of time for a quick weekend or a overnight stay to check things out, at least check out all the things that you can at home before you head out. You will be very glad that you did.
Right.
10 important things to consider before your trial run. Did you fill up with propane? Did you check the RV tire pressure and the pull vehicle tire pressure? Do you have drain and water hoses? Do you have an appropriate extension cord for an RV in case your power cable isn't long enough? Do you have adapters if you're 50 amp service or can only get a spot that is 30 amp? Do you have an EMS to protect your RV electrical system?
So important.
Have you tested your refrigerator to make sure it will cool? Do you have a water pressure regulator with you to use on the water hydrant? Have you checked that all of your exterior lights work? Have you tested your brakes? Some of these things can be done at a campground when doing your trial run as well. Instead of going through the entire list of steps for doing a trial run, we thought it would be helpful to just offer you a free trial run list to print out and use.
Right, and we have that over on our website at SOWLE.com.
When returning from your trial run, there are a few important things to consider. Did you have enough storage or do you need to pack differently? Did you clean your black tank properly and appropriately? And were there any issues with it? Do you have enough leveling blocks for your RV? Run through the list of important things to consider before your trial run and the actual trial run list to ensure everything worked correctly and you had all you needed.
Right. So I spent numerous hours before the pandemic hit researching many locations in the United States where the weather is nice year-round. I know not to expect to find a place where the weather is perfect every day or even every month. However, finding somewhere better suited for our son Aiden to be able to be outside more than a few months out of the year after he graduates from high school was a big goal for us. While exploring these locations from the comfort of my warm home at that time, I began thinking about the next year and a half that would lead up to Aiden's graduation in 2021. I then began to think, what am I doing? Am I ignoring the next year and a half of life just to plan ahead for happiness? So right then and there, I decided I was going to plan for the now. And that's how we came up with the idea of finding ways to explore the world around you right where you are. However, then the pandemic hit and really messed up all those plans. But things are very slowly starting to improve with the vaccinations available now, so it's a great time to get started on making those plans again. Although many people get to travel all over the United States and the world for that matter, for most of us that is not a reality. At least it isn't for us right now. We all must do the work to make the money to make the travel even possible eventually. But what that doesn't mean is that we must sit around twiddling our thumbs for the next few years or months, depending on how far away you are from your camping goals. You must enjoy the life you have now. If you can't get away for weeks at a time, go for the weekend. If not for a weekend, go for an overnight trip. No time for an overnight camping trip? Go right out to your driveway and go RV camping there. Whatever you can do it and do it now. Wherever you are, there are sure to be things that you haven't explored. We are finding this to be very true just around our small little town, but also throughout the entire state of Kansas. I know many of you are thinking, what is there to do in Kansas? It is just a simple Midwest state in the middle of the U.S. with not much to see besides plains and prairies. Well, I was thinking the same thing until I began to research the state parks in Kansas, which then led me to even more places to explore. That is when SOWLE RV's new G.O.A.L goal was created. So now we're going to talk about the 5 things to consider when planning your personal RV camping goals. How often would you like to travel? Will it be weekends only, or 3-day weekends, or a long trip? Number 2, deciding on a location, but allow for fun in between. Sometimes setting a location and then allowing yourself more time to get there allows for more stops along the way at places you normally wouldn't stop by. Remember to research your state and see if there are specific landmarks that you would like to see in an area nearby. Number 3, set a goal plan that motivates you. Consider what you enjoy most. Do you have any hobbies? Some new things to consider are geocaching, birdwatching, antique shopping, hunting, fishing, hiking, gardening, photography, photojournalism, or even backpacking. Making travel plans with these in mind might lead you to a more enjoyable adventure. Another idea is documenting memories from each trip you take. We have some suggestions over on our website at SOWLE.com. Just look for camping trip memories. Think about what you want to accomplish with this trip. This is number 4. Simply relax in a quiet setting, see everything you can possibly see in that specific area, enjoy family time, meet new people. Deciding this is important so that you book reservations in the right kind of RV location. For example, a more relaxing setting may be better accomplished in a quiet state park, whereas keeping busy and entertained may be better enjoyed in an RV park or resort. Now, number 5, set a time frame for when you want to get out and live. Stay focused on your goal. When your mind starts to lead you toward declining to get away because of other things that come up, stay focused. Is it something that can wait? Force yourself out of your comfort zone. Do something you wouldn't normally try. Start that adventure today.
Things to consider when deciding on location and amenities needed within the campground and your campsites. Amenities for the location. Are you going for enjoyment or the specific location with amenities? Like we discussed in creating your personal goals, if you have children, are there certain things you want them to be able to do?
Right.
If you enjoy walking trails, do they have them at the campground? How about bike rides? Do they have bike trails at the campground? How about horseback riding trails? The campground we go to often has a specific campground as well as trails for equestrian riders. How about swimming? Do you want to swim in lake water, or do you prefer a location with a pool? Are you looking for recreational hot spots for entertainment, such as in Kansas City? We have the Power and Light District as well as Worlds of Fun for additional entertainment right by the campgrounds. The American Royal Barbecue is another tourist attraction for the Kansas City area, and there are many campground locations nearby for those interested in that. We also have the Ozarks and Branson nearby with plenty of amenities for RVers.
Yes.
What amenities do you need at your campsite? Electricity, water, sewer. If you don't need sewer at your campsites, do you have a tote to drain and do so? Do you have the ability to take it to the dump station? Boondocking is another option. Another new trend is to use them with solar panels, which allow families to use their RV anywhere without worrying about finding a place to hook up for electricity and other amenities. It is time for TNT. The TNT today is a tip and trick I learned the hard way from an experience with a flat tire on the highway on one of our trips. You do not want to be stuck on the side of the highway with a flat, so in order to make sure you are as safe as possible regarding tire pressure, you may want to consider purchasing a tire pressure that can go up to as much as 120 psi. The one we got with a built-in pressure tire gauge as well. It is a necessity for us for sure. Figuring out how to make RV camping reservations can be a daunting task. Online reservations are our favorite because they are the easiest for us. However, sometimes there can be a computer glitches and reservations get mixed up. That is why it is especially important to remember to verify your reservation once more before you head in that direction. If you can make reservations by calling the campground directly, honestly, that is the best way to do it. You have a much better chance of getting a spot in places that would sometimes say that they are not available online.
True.
Like I said before, we all like to make our reservations online, as it just works better for us when we know the location we are heading to. But we absolutely call if we are going somewhere new.
Right.
To decide where we are going to make our reservations, we begin with using a few apps to decide our location. Number 1, RA Camping, also known as Reserve America, is a free app and can be used for reserving campsites, cabins, yurts, and other rental options. With RA Camping, you can research and book both public and private campground facilities while on the go or from home. This is the app we use the most. Most of the RV camping apps work the same. You enter the location you would like to visit, a few more details, and are shown the available campsites within a campground. Reserve America works the same way. You simply search for where you want to go camping in the United States, and from there you can narrow down the search to a city, campground that you would like to visit. You then narrow it down even further to the actual campsites available during the dates you enter for your trip. You can then see the site type, check-in, and check-out times. type of use, price per night, price per week, and many details about the site, including photos of the campsite. The details of the site go into amenities available on that specific site, such as water, electricity, and sewer hookup. If pets are allowed, the maximum number of vehicles allowed on that specific campsite, and the maximum vehicle length for your RV, grills and picnic tables available on the site, and much more. The one thing that we tend to look closely is the site surface.
Right.
If it is gravel and not pavement, we know that we have a little more work cut out for us in setting up our son's wheelchair lift. That really does much better with a flat surface. Additionally, we always check to see how far away the closest shelter or shower house is, so we know we have a safe place to go in inclement weather.
Right. There are a few other apps that we recommend, and they are recreation.gov. It's our second choice of an RV camping app. It is free to use and user-friendly and works similar to RV America. Campendium is another helpful app, and it's free to use. And then we have Free Roam, a great app for planning a boondocking trip, and they have helpful tools for finding free campsites and include cell coverage map overlays. How are reservations being affected by the pandemic?
As we have mentioned many times, with the pandemic, more and more people have purchased RVs and are choosing RV camping for their vacations. That results in campgrounds filling up on the reservation side very quickly, making it difficult to make last-minute RV camping trip plans. For this reason, reservations seems to be more important than ever.
Right.
Since the pandemic started, camping has seen another boom, with lots of families wanting to return to the great outdoors with some cool new features in the campers. With all the new families going camping, campsites are filling up faster than ever. Some campgrounds have open reservations for as far out as 2022. So getting on the old computer and finding availability may be hard in some areas. If you want to get out and go camping, then in the words of Benjamin Franklin, don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. If you wait, the sites may be taken. If you're not going to use your camping spot, why not be helpful to others and cancel that spot to allow other usage?
Yes.
It is more important than ever to cancel your reservations. If you know your plans have changed, there are people looking daily for cancellations at busy campgrounds to take their family on that needed vacation. So don't be that person that waits until the last minute to cancel, or the one that knows that they're not going to get a full refund. So why even bother worrying about it? We all have to help each other out with the limited site availability.
Absolutely.
That is it for today's episode of the SOWLE RV Podcast. We hope that you have enjoyed learning about doing your own trial run and making your personal RV camping travel goal plans. We also hope you safely get out and begin exploring the world around you, and hope that we have helped you in deciding on a location and the amenities you may need before heading out.
Right. Thanks so much for joining us today. As always, SOWLE RV encourages you to safely get out and live and explore the world around you. If you'd like to check out our show notes from today's episode, just go over to SOWLERV.com, click underneath podcast, and make sure you follow us on social media and be sure to hit that subscribe button below.